the biggest #1 mistake that beginner guitar players make when they're learning to solo. And you'll hear this, and I'll play it. So if I play the chord, the soft technique is the one that sounds really human, and this is sliding. So if I'm in B minor here, so moving between those two notes, it's a softer idea. So listen to the attack of picking. That's a sharp sound. Sliding. Okay? And I think the beautiful thing is, with the sliding, because what you don't realise is, you're hearing those notes that work in between. So look. If I do it slow, yeah, you can hear that it's moving between one note and the next. And that movement is very, very human. So if you have something that is more delicate that you want to say on the instrument, more human, more emotional, then you're going to find that a slide is going to be the best sort of technique that you can employ. The way I think about it is more of a glissando. Because if I sing do, re, I can do them in steps. Do, re, but I can go do, re. I can slide up to it like that. This is the thing about the human voice. We've got this slidiness that we can do. We don't just have to do this stepwise motion. Hit the note, then hit the next note, okay? We want to practice sliding. In between those notes and getting those notes in there. I really love sliding. There's some people out there that make a big focus on sliding as part of their technique. Steve Vai, lot of sliding going on there in Flexible and Passion and Warfare, his first sort of main albums that everybody knew. Bending is the third technique that we need to conquer. Bending is beautiful because I think bending is one of those things that when you hear a note, it's very, very weepy. And that can express that sadness, but it's very soft. It can be submissive, but if you attack it, you can put rage into it. So it's one of those techniques that I think is really, really good for getting the pro sound. This is the way it starts with guitar. When we're learning the scales, the problem is because we just play scales, we can sound scaly. Yeah, even if we alter the rhythm, we don't want to just kind of lose in that scenario. Now, the thing with bending is we have to watch out for string noise from the other strings. So this is where right hand cleanliness comes in. So when I bend this G string, I'm bending the G string at the 9th fret here. Yeah, when I'm bending that, I've got 2 fingers on the B and the E string, and then I'm using the chicken drumstick. That's what I call, because I always think that the thumb looks like a chicken drumstick if you kind of chopped it off there. So that bit there, yeah, put that on just to mute those strings out. Naturally, this guitar amp is a little bit buzzy. Can you hear that? Boom. It just mutes out string noise as well. But if I put those fingers on there, now you can hear my 3rd finger is pushing this one up. So what I can do is I can use the fingers that are below it. When you bend, you need the thumb over the top because it's all about pivots, fulcrums, that kind of stuff. And how you bend, it depends if I'm using the 3rd finger or the pinky. What you have is this pivot point here that's touching the neck. This is what I do anyhow. And that becomes my fixed point. But without the thumb, this is a no-no. We don't want the thumb down there because we're losing the center of gravity for the hand. We need this thumb as an opposing force. Yes? So when I'm pushing up there, and actually I think Slash really does this, pronounces it, you can see that his bottom two fingers, his first finger and his second finger, here, they're slightly further up, and he uses those to mute out the D string above, or if he's playing the B string, it would be, you know, using those to help him to mute out the G string underneath it. Same goes for the E string. So cleanliness is next to godliness if we're going to bend, and we need that thumb in there as well. Notice that if you try to bend with the fingers up like this, see the gaps in between my fingers? They're going to be weak. I always kind of think to myself, and I think it's a good analogy, if you remember when you moved into your first apartment or something like that, and you got a sofa, and you tried to lift it into the apartment on your own, it's not going to happen. So what you do is you call some buddies around, and a few of you take it and you get it in. So it's the same principle. You need buddy fingers to help bend these notes. You can do it by strength alone, but I'm not a fan of that idea, because I think the thing is your other fingers are there. I personally like to use my pinky to bend there. I do it there as well. Yeah, but using both. So we've got a fulcrum here, and then we've got this pivot as well that's holding everything in place. It's all about levers. Now when I bend, I have a choice. And generally, the idea with bending is to make sure that you go up to the next scale note, or a chord tone, or some target note. And now this is my tip for getting your bends accurate. What you do is you play the note that you're going to go up to. So in this case, it's this B on the 12th fret. I'm recording that in my head. I'm remembering what that sounds like. Play the note. I'm singing it in my head. Then I bend up to it. Yeah, I bend down with the index finger. Well, let's have a look at that. And if we're in this pentatonic shape here, so say this one here, it's any of the notes that are at the back end of a 2-note per string scale, yeah? So towards the head, not towards the neck, towards the head. This one is fulcrumy, but what we do is we use the natural resistance of the shape of the finger. This is where the thumb sometimes comes off, and you see that B.B. King thing where the thumb comes off. So you're just pulling down there. It's almost like the action of a door handle, if that makes sense. Now that's an interesting one, because what you should practice with that is, we know that this is the flat third in this minor pentatonic. There's my next note up, but I've got a major third here that I can go for as well. There's the target note, play the target note, go back, bend to the target note. That's the way that it works on that index finger. Smiley face on the thumb. Why not? I'm happy I'm playing guitar. Yeah, we've done it. Right, so. Now, importantly, vibrato comes from bending. Vibrato is bending. And we need to know that, because what we've got to do is we've got to control the bend at the apex of the bend, at the top of the bend. And vibrato, rock vibrato specifically, this is what I'm talking about. Now, if I don't put any vibrato on this with bends, it'll still sound okay, but it always sounds better putting that vibrato on it. So if I do that again, if you want to think about vibrato, don't really look at guitar players. Look at vocalists. If you listen to a vocalist, generally soul vocalists, rock vocalists, you will find the vibrato is usually at the end of the phrase of the call or the response. We want to develop that vibrato. And you know, Paul Kossoff from Free has completely different vibrato from Angus Young from AC/DC. Now, let me just explain as well with bending. I generally look at it this way. The B string, we bend up towards the ceiling. And if it's on this note, this is that notorious hard note to bend, because you've got to watch this one, because this is a sneaky one. That's the root note. If this was a B minor chord under here, yeah, vibrato is a bend. So what I've got to do is I've got to bend it up to a pitch. I'm making sure that it's going up. To get that vibrato on that root note there. What you don't want to do is you don't want to bend up a half step from the root note. That's the biggest #1 mistake that beginner guitar players make when they're learning to solo. And you'll hear this, and I'll play it. So if I play the chord, bending the root note, it sounds awful. Yeah, because that note's not in the scale, and it's a semitone away, and semitones clash. Half steps. Steve Vai did a lesson, and I seem to remember it from years ago. I think I had it on VHS tape, yeah, back then. And what you do is you play one note, and you see how you can make it interesting. Play it for a minute. Let me just say, make sure everyone's out of the house, because if you keep doing this as a thing, everyone will hate you. We don't want people to hate you, yeah? We want them to welcome you playing the guitar and practicing. But this... So you've got to think to yourself, well, how can I treat this note? So I can think... I can pick it. If I'm holding just one note, then I can only just bend it. But what note I bend it up to, that changes significantly. So that's the way I see that vibrato is a bend, unless you're doing the classical side to side one, which I just think is weird on electric. It doesn't seem to have the same kind of effect. The next that we want to do is, if we're changing from one note to the other, is